Okay, welcome. My name's Ian Aliff from Panosec, and this video is about cybersecurity. It's an introduction. What is cybersecurity? So, cybersecurity encompasses all that protects enterprises and individuals from intentional attacks, breaches, and incidents, as well as the consequences. Cybersecurity addresses primarily those types of attack, breach, or incident that are targeted, sophisticated, and difficult to detect or manage. And the focus of cybersecurity is on what has become known as Advanced Persistent Attack Threats, or APTs, cyber warfare and their impact on enterprises and individuals. So what used to happen 10 years ago, a simple firewall, those threats have completely changed, so it's a completely different landscape, and a new term needs to be coined as such, because to describe the advanced attacks. And obviously if you can name the new security type, a business can actually now start to do things about it. So these are the traditional information security controls. You've got information security, which is that still exists. It's very, very important. It's the older model. You've got shredding. So with that, for example, you've got a shredder in your office, or you get that outsourced to a shredding company, and they dispose of your data. We're talking about actual files, letters, financial information on invoices, things like that. So that's always been going on for many years. But you've also got other things, like, for example, field security or perimeter security, so access into a building, as well as firewalls. Now, firewalls still really important. It's really, really important to have firewalls in place, but at the same time, it's not everything to do with security. Then you've got risk management, mobile security, which is, for example, bring your own device. So employees bring their own device. What happens when they take that device into a business, or perhaps they've got their own business phone. Perhaps they've got two phones. You know, a lot of companies have got two phones when they're in a business. Or what about if a contractor or a guest comes into a building, comes into a business for a meeting, and they've got these phones, or maybe their own phone, and they've downloaded something by mistake. A link. They clicked on a link the other night, and a backdoor was installed on their mobile phone, and then that's taken to someone else's office, and the hacker who originally installed the backdoor, the secret backdoor, now has access to that other company's customer data, for example, financial information. We've got other things like here, for example, instant response. How does a business actually respond to attacks coming into the business? Because businesses are being specifically attacked now. We know this more than ever. So it's really important to have an incident response. How you detect and respond to attacks. And again, you've got identity management right at the top there. How does your company organise the management of identities for the employees, physical as well as digital? So cybersecurity, again, we've got the new and old controls. We've got the old controls with information security, again, shredding, field security, firewalls, instant response, mobile security. But at the same time now, cybersecurity actually overlaps information security. So you can't have one without the other, really. Cybersecurity reflects the advanced attacks. Okay, so that's appearing on the right hand side here. So when we're talking about SCADA, we're talking about that's an acronym for supervisory control and data acquisition. It's a computer system gathering and analyzing real-time data. So many, for example, factories will have this in place. So they'll have different machines out in the field, and they need to know how healthy their system is. So that's a monitoring device. At the same time, these are actually under attack now. We know this from, for example, recently. It's called the the Stuxnet virus, which is a worm that targets these SCADA control systems. For example, it was actually installed in the Iran nuclear plant, and you can watch perhaps another video on them for more details on that particular attack. And you got APT, Advanced Persistent Threat Simulation. This is how a business individually copes with an attack. So that comes under the bracket of cybersecurity. But again, you can't have cybersecurity without good information security. So the two are overlapping. Okay. So it's a new prioritization. Note the UK spelling at the top there. So you've got information security again coming on the left, shredding, firewalls, incident response, mobile, SCADA, and Intel. When we're talking about Intel, we're talking about cybersecurity intelligence. Now, there's a lot of things going on out there in cyberspace, as it were, actual attacks coming into businesses. Now, you need to have some intelligence mechanism to identify what sort of threats are going on and what are the solutions for this. Okay, and obviously you can then put that into, you can then use that intelligence and start testing your business individually for those threats, how your business copes, and then you can quickly find solutions for these attacks, so you don't become a victim. In this slide, we've got impacts of cybercrime and cyber attacks on business and society. So these are the actual impacts. So we've got threat of intelligence, property, customer data or trade secrets, financial fraud, credit card and wider identity theft. So this is, for example, your employees could be attacked individually for their own financial information, let alone the company information, and the business has a due care to look after the employees. And then finally, we've got the disruption breakdown of business processes. It puts businesses out of business because their business processes don't work. For example, a factory could have a conveyor belt system, and what's monitoring these conveyor belts suddenly stops because it's been attacked. A virus has been put in there, and everything shuts down. You're out of business. That's what happens. You're out of business, and it's going to take time to again find solutions for this, and then make sure it doesn't happen again. So you need to, as a business, you need to start thinking of preventative measures. Now, how does this integrate with other frameworks? So this is an important part of cybersecurity, IT security, information security, because there's a lot of guidelines out there that have been driven from the government, no matter what country you're in, US, UK, or wherever. You've got actual governance that you have to adhere, a business has to adhere to. So for example, here we've got cybersecurity is defined in the ISO 27032, which is the information security techniques. It's a guidelines for cybersecurity, essentially. Now, if a business started adhering to those guidelines, then they're going to be in a much better position than they were before. Equally, you've got information security, for example, ISO 27001. If a business actually starts aiming towards that, accreditation is obviously important, and you can get that via an independent body. They come in, assess your business, how you cope. But what about this? What about if you actually get to that level where you think, right, I'm confident in our information security, we might as well go for certification. Okay. What sometimes happens is because of a contract, a business contract, businesses now have to have these ISO standards in place before they can even tender for business. Now, what about if you just get to that level to begin with, so you're in that position, so you're not trying to catch up yourself, basically, if you see what I'm saying. What I'm trying to say, the point I'm trying to make here is put yourself in a good position. So whether or not you want to take the certification is up to you, but you're already there, you're already at that high standard. Now that's not a big tick in the box. You've got your security all in place. It means that you're actually actively working towards it. And if anything did happen, say you had a data breach, then you can show to the courts that you've shown that you've started to do due care. So the penalty might not be as harsh. And penalties are coming in thick and fast for companies. For example, John Lewis, they had an issue with their data protection. You've got companies in the US where, for example, Target, the CEO, he resigned, should I say. eBay, the list goes on and on. If we go down this list, we've got enterprise governance of IT, as I've just mentioned before. We've got the risk management frameworks and practices influencing cybersecurity. So some companies will have these frameworks in place, but already for existing controls. Cybersecurity actually fits into those other controls. It's a evolution, as it were. Okay, and then you've got business continuity, service continuity, emergency crisis handling provisions of governance level. So this is where business, how business responds to threats, not just cybersecurity, but for example, if there's a fire. So if you've got business continuity in place, then cybersecurity fits within that. Organisation and corporate governance provisions influencing cybersecurity directly or indirectly. And then we've got trends and game changes always on. Typical home bandwidth. Basic, if you go out to work, you're at home, your bandwidth's going to be on, your internet's going to be on. You've got public access points, so when you go to cafes, airports, these are all dangers. This is where you can be attacked, not in your business, not necessarily in your actual business, at home or at the airport or in a cafe. This is when the attacks will happen because it's easy. You haven't got those you haven't got those corporate firewalls in place with these places. For example, an employee can be in an airport, they've got an email, and it could be specifically targeted where it's got their name. Click on here for more information. You've probably had it before on your mobile phone. I've even seen it in an email via LinkedIn. It was a similar thing. Now, when someone clicks onto that, something's downloaded, which basically a Trojan or backdoor, which the hacker will use to access all your information. Okay, information, customer data, financial information that can ruin a business and the reputation as well. Okay, so going down the list now, we've got proximity-based connectivity. So people always know where you are, whether your GPS is enabled or not. A lot of businesses will know, a lot of hackers will know exactly where you are and what you're doing. And then you've got stronger dependencies on being connected. So there's, with printers, there's, for example, cloud printers. It's all about, speeding the business up, getting more productivity, and that's the right thing to do. But what I'm saying is that help to lower the risk. That comes with growth, business growth. So you should use technology to advance a business. At the same time, you should mitigate risk. Trends and game changes. Here we've got this is slides about the IT centric, so banking and finance, shopping, e-commerce sites, for example, travel and logistics, critical infrastructure, increasing reliance on fully automated business to business as well as business to consumer processes. So this is all the technology that's in place. If you think about it, there's a lot of IT technology processes in place which a business heavily relies on, and these and it filters down in all different parts of the business, internally as well as what the customer sees, external facing, for example, your e-commerce website. Now this is the again, we're on cybersecurity here. Evolution of the threat landscape. This is where it's come from. So what I said earlier on about firewalls 10 years ago, that security used to be sufficient, but now everything's changed. You've got it's more advanced attacks. So you used to have in the beginning, like in the 90s, the I love you virus, where an email was sent with the subject heading I love you, and then it would download a picture and then wipe out your files. And what was happening with that is other hackers were taking this virus and adding to it, and then you had different deviations of that virus, and that was a big problem. But obviously, the problem didn't stop there. It just kept getting worse, or more advanced attacks. And we've touched upon Stuxnet, which has actually attacked the Iran nuclear power plant. Now that's quite dangerous, You've got the flame virus as well. So these are the advanced attacks. So again, you can look over this slide in more detail at your leisure, but it's just simply to show you the history of where cybersecurity, where the threat landscapes come and the fact that you need a completely new mindset to actually deal with this. So good cybersecurity enablers. For a business, in the beginning, you need principles, policies and frameworks, and you need resources in place. So you've got information, services, infrastructure and applications, people skills and how competent they are, which is really important. So we're talking about the education of employees. And again, we've touched on the putting the right policies in place and organisational structures. It's really important that the whole business knows it holistically. When I mean holistically in a business, I'm talking about from the very top. The CEO is aware about cybersecurity, and it filters all the way down. It's in everything you do. You're always thinking about risk, but obviously you're not stopping from what you're doing. In fact, you're going to be doing more and more. You're going to be connecting more devices to the internet. You're going to be working with your mobile phone at different airports and cafes. So I'm not saying you can't do that. I'm just saying that let's start mitigating risk and putting these enablers in place. And then you've got the auditing and reviewing of cybersecurity. So the first line management, which is your control self-assessments, attack breach, or what's known as penetration testing. And that's when a business is basically hacked, as it were, to see all the different weaknesses, see where your weak points are, and then you can do something about it. A lot of the problems they can be quickly fixed, so it's not a big problem. Again, you've got technical testing, social behavioural testing, how your employees behave in certain environments. Do they only allow people with certain ID to come into the building? And you've got regular management review, so it becomes a part of the business. Like, did you think when you're having meetings, what about security of this, security of that? There seems to be a trend these days where you can put everything into the cloud and then forget about it, or we've got security covered. That's a good one. A lot of people think, businesses think security they've got security covered simply because they put things in the cloud. Now that's great, because that in the cloud, that's good, because a lot, for example, Box, cloud storage, they actually adhere to, they help make a company compliant for certain regulations. Now, the problem here is that a keylogger or a backdoor could be installed on the computer, and it could actually recognize what you're actually typing into a computer. For example, passwords. That can then be used by a hacker to go into your accounts, your cloud storage accounts. Okay, things to think about. As we go up, second line, risk management, threats, vulnerabilities, risk. Formal risk evaluation, where you get someone in to actually see where your holes are, where your weaknesses are, and your emerging risk. Where the threats are coming from. What problems are you going to be having in a few years as your business advances. and then the third line, internal audit, which is internal testing. Cybersecurity compliance, formal risk, and investigation forensics. So when we're talking about forensics in this context, we're talking about can your company obtain evidence which could help take a cyber criminal to court, or perhaps can you detect that a competitor has gone in and taken things that they shouldn't have done, and your patents and things like that. Here we've got the guiding principles for transforming cybersecurity. So here we've got principle 1, know the potential impact of cybercrime and cyber warfare. Principle 2, understand end users, their cultural values and their behavioural patterns. Principle 3, clearly state the business case for cybersecurity and the risk appetite for the business. This is where you might need to get someone in to help you with that. Principle 4, establish cybersecurity governance. Again, you can get someone in to help you with that. Principle 5, manage cybersecurity using principles and enablers. Principle 6, which is know the cybersecurity assurance universe and objectives, so what's going on in the wider world in this context, insurance for example, and provide reasonable assurance over cybersecurity. So you providing steps to help mitigate these risks. And finally, principle 8, which is establish and evolve systemic cybersecurity. So your business evolves over time. So if you start now, you can benchmark where you are, and in 6 months, a year, etc., you can start to see where your business has evolved, and that shows that you're taking due care. It shows to a court that you take cybersecurity, you take the protection of customer data as well as your employees, the data for your employees. You're taking very good steps towards looking after these business assets. That's it from me. So thank you for watching. If you've got any questions, just get in touch with me. Fantastic. See you on the next video.